Ever feel like you're just swimming in information but not really grasping anything solid?
Yeah, like you want the good stuff without digging through mountains of text.
Exactly. That's what we try to do here on the deep dive. We grab a few interesting sources and, pull out the core ideas.
And today we're diving into something pretty universal. Communication, how things flare up into conflict, and the power of knowing when not to speak.
We're looking at it through two lenses, right? Astrology for tomorrow, May 18th, 2025, and also a myth.
That's right. We've got the astrology of the day
Hmm.
and the TarotScope for the 18th from Tarot by High C, plus this story called The Storm of Voices.
It's cool how these different angles, cosmic energy versus an old story, seem to be saying similar things about how we interact.
It really is interesting, this mix of, like, potential energies for tomorrow and this timeless tale about words and silence. It feels relevant for navigating things, maybe not just tomorrow, but generally.
Okay, so let's jump in. The astrology for tomorrow, May 18th, sounds like things could get a bit argumentative.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. The forecast points to a potential for really strong opposing viewpoints clashing.
Oh, like everyone's convinced their way is the only logical way.
Exactly that. And there's a warning attached. Don't rush to judge, and resist arguing just to dominate or prove you're right.
Take a breath first. Makes sense. Choose your battles, maybe.
Precisely. The advice is to focus that mental energy, not on winning debates, but on actually solving problems. How do you see that playing out?
I mean, just recognizing when a conversation is going nowhere productive, right? Versus actually trying to figure something out. It also mentions a risk of pessimistic thinking.
Yeah, that's definitely in there.
Yeah.
A tendency towards maybe fatalistic thoughts or just getting bogged down in negativity.
So what's the antidote they suggest?
It really emphasizes self-care and actively letting go of blaming yourself, blaming others. That seems key to finding a bit more optimism when things feel tense.
Right, like the outside friction might stir up internal stuff too. And it talks about becoming more aware of differences in viewpoints, ethics, even morals.
It does. And interestingly, the advice isn't to double down on arguing your point, but actually to release judgment, to focus more on your own, maybe spiritual path or growth, less outward criticism, more inward focus.
Okay. And then there are specific transits mentioned. The morning one, Aquarius moon conjunct Pluto. That sounds intense.
It can be, yeah. For people less familiar, Moon-Pluto conjunctions, especially in Aquarius, can sometimes bring up deeper stuff. Hidden fears, maybe power dynamics playing out under the surface, even manipulative vibes.
Stuff usually kept in the shadows might come out?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Or just feeling those deeper currents more strongly.
Okay. So maybe a bit of a cautious morning interaction-wise, but the evening sounds different. Aquarius moon sextile Venus.
Yeah, quite a contrast. That suggests potential for lighter connections, maybe surprising moments of grace, even a feeling of unconditional love or easy harmony.
That's a relief, a shift in the energy later on.
It really points to that possibility.
Mm-hmm.
After navigating potentially heavier stuff, there's an opening for warmth and understanding. It's like even if the day starts rough, grace is still possible.
Okay, now this other big one, Mercury square Mars. That sounds like communication versus action clashing.
You got it.
Uh,
Mercury is communication, thinking. Mars is action, assertion, even aggression. A square is a challenging aspect. So yeah, potential for ego clashes.
Stubborn opinions. Combative words.
Definitely. Restless minds maybe wanting to argue. That feeling where being loud feels like being right, even though it isn't.
We've all seen that. And finding common ground might be tough.
It says compromise will likely need extra effort. Conscious effort. But, and this is important, it also says that effort is worthwhile in the end.
So don't give up on finding it. Just know it might take work.
Exactly. And here's a really key bit of advice tied to this.
What's that?
The potential for conversations to shift really fast.
Yeah.
Like from calm to chaos in a heartbeat.
Wow, okay.
Which leads to this specific piece of advice. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy.
Ah, okay. That connects back to the choose your battles idea.
Perfectly. Sometimes stepping back, not reacting instantly, is the smartest, most powerful moves, being deliberate.
So the astrology paints this picture of needing mindfulness in communication. Let's switch to the myth now, the storm of voices. How does that fit in?
Well, we shift scenes dramatically to this realm called Etherian. And here, words literally shape reality.
Literally? Wow.
Yeah, and it's ruled by this council of echoes, immortal beings.
Okay, Council of Echoes, what are they like?
Intense is a good word. They have this incredible power, but they're just locked in these endless damaging arguments. Each one thinks their voice, their opinion, is the only one that matters.
Huh. Sounds like a cosmic Twitter feed gone wrong, or just a really bad meeting, like you said earlier.
Totally. And their arguments aren't just noise, they have consequences. Their words become like thunder, like lightning streaks darkening the sky, making their reality unstable.
So their communication breakdown is literally breaking their world.
Exactly. It shows the destructive side of unchecked conflict very vividly.
But then there's Alara, the keeper of silence. She sounds completely different.
Complete opposite. Where they're loud and dominant, she's described as thoughtful, gentle. She rarely speaks,
Okay.
but when she does, her words are carefully chosen and carry immense weight.
And I bet the others don't appreciate that. They probably think she's weak or has nothing to say.
That's exactly what the story says. They mock her quietness. It's that classic misunderstanding, isn't it? Quiet equals empty.
Yeah. But she actually gets something they don't.
She understands that fundamental thing. Not every fight needs fighting. Not every thought needs voicing out loud, which, echoes that astrological advice perfectly.
Choose your battles, choose your words. So the council keeps arguing, and things get worse.
Much worse. Their verbal storm starts literally tearing holes in the fabric of Ethereum. Reality trembles, and these actual shadows start emerging from the rifts.
Whoa, actual shadows, like manifestations of their conflict.
That's how it reads, yeah. The chaos becomes tangible, destructive, and that's when Alara steps in.
Finally, what'd she do? Did she shout louder than them?
No, that's the amazing part. She doesn't shout at all.
Mm.
In the middle of all that thunder and lightning and arguing, her luminous silence falls. It just stills the air.
Silence itself has power.
Immense power here. And then she speaks just one single steady word. Not loud, but firm. Enough.
Wow. Just enough.
And the effect is instant. The storm calms, the lightning dims, the rifts start mending. The council is just stunned into silence.
Yeah.
Awed.
And the shadows.
Banished. Pushed back by the light of her restraint. It's a beautiful image.
It really is. Her quiet strength basically saves the day. And then she sets up a rule.
Yes, she establishes what becomes the sacred law of Ethereum, the measure of silence.
The measure of silence, what does that mean exactly?
It emphasizes a few things. Wisdom lies in the weight of your words, not the volume. Silence is strategic, not passive. And words have dual potential. They can be weapons or they can heal. Choose wisely.
So it's about intentionality, not just blurting things out.
Precisely. It's about being conscious of the impact. And her quiet glow, the story says, remains as this constant reminder in Ethereum about the power of restraint.
Okay, so bringing these two together, the astrology for tomorrow and this Ethereum myth, the parallels seem pretty clear.
They really are quite striking, aren't they? The astrology warns about potential conflict, ego clashes, a storm of voices, essentially.
Right, and the myth shows us exactly what that looks like when it goes unchecked and how damaging it can be.
And Alara's wisdom, her approach, feels like a perfect embodiment of the astrological advice. Choose battles, value thoughtful communication, pause before reacting.
Yeah, both are pointing towards reflection, considering impact. The ego clashes in the stars, the clashing egos on the council. It's the same core human challenge.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that line from the astrology, silence isn't weakness, it's strategy, feels like it could be Alara's motto.
It really does. Her silence was her strategy, and it was incredibly powerful.
And remember the astrology advising us to direct mental energy toward problem solving, not just arguing.
Yeah.
That lines up so well with Alara's decree, using that mental fire for creation, for healing, not just destruction and debate, channeling it constructively.
It makes you wonder, too, about those shadowy fears the Moon-Pluto aspect might stir up. Getting caught in pointless arguments could probably make those feel much worse.
I think that's a very real possibility. Unchecked conflict can definitely amplify anxieties. Alara's message of restraint becomes even more valuable then.
And on the flip side, maybe practicing that measure of silence makes it easier to access the positive stuff, like the lighthearted connection from the Moon-Venus aspect later in the day.
That feels right. By not getting bogged down in the morning's potential negativity, by choosing restraint, you create more space for that grace, that unconditional love or connection to actually come through in the evening.
So pulling it all together,
Yeah.
what's the big insight here?
I think it's the convergence. You have tomorrow's potential astrological vibe and this ancient story both highlighting the same thing, the immense value of thoughtful communication and the strategic, often underestimated power of silence.
Knowing the weight of your words, choosing when to use them, and when maybe not to.
Right. and directing that mental energy constructively rather than letting ego run the show in debates.
It's a strong reminder for all of us, really, to think before we speak or type or react.
Which leads to a final thought for you, listening. In a world that's often so loud, where everyone's shouting to be heard,
Hmm.
how might consciously using this measure of silence actually help you? Not just to navigate the noise, but maybe to make your own voice, your own unique talents, more impactful when you do choose to speak.
Yeah, something to definitely mull over. How silence can actually amplify your message when used intentionally.